Every year, ESPN puts out their very popular list ranking the top 100 NBA players going into the new season called NBA Rank, and this year's edition of the list just finished being released in 3 parts. With the whole list published now, it has obviously stirred up a ton of discussion and debate amongst fans and analysts alike, as it does every year, and I'm all too familiar with the fact that rankings always naturally come with scrutiny because it's nearly impossible to get everyone to agree on everything. With that being said though, in today's video, I will be going through picking out the 5 players I believe were the most overrated on the list, meaning that they were the players with a ranking way ahead of where they probably belong. This isn't meant to be slanderous or disrespectful or anything like that, I just feel as though these players are being ranked ahead of way too many players that deserve a spot over them, based on recent production and forward projection. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player that I believe was very overrated on ESPN's list was Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic, who was ranked 30th overall. There are so many things to be excited about regarding Paolo Banchero and his future in the league. After being drafted number 1 overall in last year's draft, he comfortably cruised to a Rookie of the Year award campaign where he put up 20 points and 7 rebounds per game, which very few other rookies have done before. His inclusion in today's video does not mean that I do not believe he is a star in the making. I simply believe we are being way too premature crowning him as such at the moment. Being ranked 30th overall puts him right in the mix with a ton of other fringe all-star talent and guys that have proven themselves as top-tier stars that help teams win in the league, and Banchero has a lot to improve upon before he can solidify his place there. He was very inefficient scoring the basketball last season, shooting 42% from the field and 29% from 3. He has the tools to be a good defender, but isn't consistently a plus on that end yet, and his decision making as a young player still needs some work as well. Some players ranked behind him in the general vicinity of the list included Jalen Brunson, Kyrie Irving, Ja Morant, Darius Garland, and Bradley Beal, and I can't get behind ranking him above any of those players. The next player that I found to be quite overrated on ESPN's ranking list was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who was ranked 8th overall. Now, Shai is probably the closest young player in the league to breaking through to that superstar tier of talent, but on this list, ESPN ranks him amongst that crowd higher than quite a few notable names who have accomplished a lot more than he has. The hype surrounding the Thunder this offseason has been monumental, and I am definitely in agreement that there is a lot to like about this Thunder team on the rise, and it's exciting to see them progress as much as they have with the fun brand of basketball that they play, but the truth is they still haven't actually done anything significant. Shai was one of the top 5 scorers in the league last year, scoring about 31 points per game, and he helped the Thunder make the play-in tournament, but there are quite a few guys who elevate the teams around them to a higher degree, produce at an elite level, and lead deep playoff runs that are ranked behind him, which again feels pretty premature. Behind Shai on this list includes players like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, and Damian Lillard, who all have the elite production across the board, but have also done so in a way that has helped get their teams to the top. For me to get behind Shai being ranked ahead of all of those players, he's going to need to do so on a winning team, because whether it's fair or not, empty statistics don't move the needle as much. The next player that I found to be a bit overrated from ESPN's list was Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who was ranked 13th overall. Edwards finds himself on this list for a lot of the same reasons that SGA found himself on this list. He's an incredibly exciting young talent who definitely seems to be on the verge of a big-time breakout, but there's no real justification for crowning him as a superstar before he even proves himself in that capacity. Like, at least Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had the truly elite production as a scorer to somewhat explain his ranking. Anthony Edwards led the way for Team USA at this year's FIBA World Cup, which which is where a lot of his offseason hype has stemmed from. But it's hard to overlook the fact that the Team USA side he was leading ended up being the most disappointing Team USA side in over a decade, failing to even come away with a medal. Even last year with the Timberwolves, he put up a solid 25 points per game and got nominated as an All-Star for the first time, but that was only good for being the 16th best scorer in the league. He shot the ball slightly above league average, making 46% of his shots and 37% of his threes, and the Timberwolves ended the season as one of the most disappointing teams overall after all the hype that they entered the year with. That's the kind of resume that gets you ranked ahead of guys like Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, and even Donovan Mitchell, who all have longer histories of better production along with a solid track record in the playoffs. I just don't buy it. The next player that I found to be overrated on their list was Jrue Holiday of the Boston Celtics, who was ranked 26th overall. Jrue Holiday has played an integral role in the Milwaukee Bucks over the last couple of years, winning the 2021 NBA championship with them, and he's been floating off of that success ever since. He holds a reputation as the league's supposed best perimeter defender. He's a perennial all-star, and on paper he does put up good offensive numbers, but I simply cannot ignore how the last two seasons have gone, and more importantly, ended, like many seem willing to do. Jrue put up about 19 points and 7 assists per game last season, which is definitely good, and he once again shot the ball well overall in the regular season. The problem with Jrue Holiday has risen in each of the last two postseasons, where he has struggled mightily. His shooting woes in the playoffs also date all the way back to the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals, because since that series, he has not shot above 40% from the field in a single playoff series. In this past postseason especially, Giannis Antetokounmpo was playing with a bad back, so they needed him to step up more than ever, but he did the opposite, and it resulted in a humiliating first-round exit as a 1-seed team losing to the 8-seed, where not even his defensive impact was felt, because Jimmy Butler played his best basketball when matched up with Jrue Holiday. Age is definitely starting to catch up with Jrue, and it will likely continue to trend in the wrong direction, so seeing him ranked above players like Trae Young, Ja Morant, Jalen Brunson, Kyrie Irving, and more all-star talent actually on the rise makes me think too many people are living in the past. And finally, the last player I found to be a bit overrated on ESPN's list was Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors, being ranked 41st overall. Klay Thompson will go down in the history books as one of the greatest shooters to ever step on a basketball court, but he is definitely an example of a player still clutching to his former glory based on the reputation he has amongst fans and analysts, and lists like this. Since Klay returned from his long injury hiatus last season, he has still definitely been a great shooter. No one is denying that. He's just not consistently able to give you much of anything else, and when you're ranking someone like that over way more well-rounded fringe all-star talent, it demonstrates that he is probably a bit overrated at this current moment. Part of what made Klay so great at the height of the Warriors dynasty was that he was also a lockdown defender at the time. He is no longer a lockdown defender or anything close to that in the year 2023. He's never been someone who you give the ball to and expect him to create much off the dribble. He's never been someone with much of a pedigree passing the ball, playmaking for others, so at this point in time, he's someone who occasionally gets hot and hits a lot of shots, while simultaneously taking a lot of bad shots along the way. In the playoffs each of the last 2 years, he's been wildly streaky. He's coming off of a series against the Lakers in the playoffs where he shot just 34% from the field, and with his injury history and rapid decline outside of his shooting stroke, I don't think it's reasonable to rank him above players like James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Julius Randle, CJ McCollum, or LaMelo Ball, who all do come in behind him on this list. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below which players you think were the most overrated on ESPN's list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.